All right. So I had a really stupid idea. And the more I thought about it, the more I kind of started thinking I should just make a video of this. It's stupid enough to make a video on. Therefore, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. But the idea was, could I survive Mega Man X? And I don't mean like, could I play through it? I mean, if I, as a human being, were put in X's place, how far could I get? Now, the short answer is maybe the second enemy, and that is it. Because the simple fact is, I, as a human being, am not dodging missiles or lightning. And even then, the first enemy is probably going to steamroll me into a very fine paste. Now, if that sounds gruesome, it's because it is. I know to a lot of people, Mega Man is one of those, cute pixel art games, but the thing you have to remember is, in the story of these games, there is a quote-unquote war against the humans. Now, as I say what I'm about to say, keep in mind the words war and the humans and against, because that is putting it very lightly. In these games, and very much more so the X series, robots are basically slaughtering humanity. So it's not so much of a war as much as it is an extermination, a removal of a pest. In fact, the only reason why humans even continue to exist is because basically a group of robots put their own lives on the line to defend them. And in this game, it's basically just X and 0, as all of the other robots who are basically dedicated to basically hunting down rogue robots kind of are the ones that you are fighting in this game. Which means basically the human defense force is the one trying to destroy humanity. In other words, robots that specialize in hunting and killing other robots have basically decided that, you know what? Nah, we ain't doing that no more. So yeah, in reality, the quote-unquote war against the humans is more of a slaughter targeting the humans. But the point being is every enemy in this game basically has the general idea of kill all humans in mind. And me, being a human, I think you can probably see where where exactly the problem comes in. And for that reason, I'm going to be looking at this in two ways. First, could I survive the level itself? Could I get from the start of the level to the end of the level? And second, how would I hold up against the enemies? Let's actually start the game. And I'm quite literally just going to be going through this on like a moment-by-moment basis, and then maybe I'll give some thoughts, and then I will actually go back, edit in some, fine math. And for that reason, as much as it kills me to do this, it means that we will be playing this with the raw pixel data. Mainly because it'll make it a lot easier for, measurements and stuff. The first one being height. Basically, X here is 5'3", or about 160 centimeters. Now, originally I was just going to use his height as my own, until I realized that I am nearly a foot taller than him. In other words, X would make a fine femboy. But that aside, I'm going to have a lot of math and ratios to figure out, which, to be fair, once I actually figure them out, is going to make calculating everything else a lot easier. The point is, the math is going to be anywhere between vague and kind of speculative. But yeah, that being said, let's go see where I would immediately die. So first of all, this enemy would probably rend me to a fine pace, because keep in mind his height is roughly the same as X's, which again, 5'3". X, however, can jump about his height and then some. I'd say his height plus a head. That is not something that I can do. Which means, unless I were to dive to the side and that enemy were to just completely zoom past me, I would quite literally get steamrolled. Now the thing is, if we do attack this, which keep in mind, I'm just going to assume that I am unarmed because, for the most part, trying to fight robots, is probably not going to go well, you know, if you try and punch them, which again would be about the limit of what I'd be able to do. I do not have a solar-powered arm cannon. But the point is, even if I were to stop it, it would probably land on me and explode. Chances of getting past this enemy are probably better than most other enemies in this game, but still not good. Next up is this guy. I am dead. Because I do not care what anyone thinks their reaction time is, you are not dodging lightning. So as far as like the game goes, that is as far as I make it. If I'm lucky. But the thing is, if we look at the stage itself, this stage has basically just been a straight line up to this point. This, however, is the first real jump, the first real obstacle. And again, the thing is, we can look at this. If we look at the pixels themselves, we can see that that is maybe a pixel or two higher than X is tall. Which again, means that that is about a 5-foot jump. I know my best vertical was 2 feet. Okay, maybe not my best, but the last time I checked a few years ago, and that was after I admittedly have not been very active for quite a while, so it could probably be better if I actually like trained and practiced. But the thing is, that is nowhere near 5 feet. Even when I do those exercises where you jump on the boxes, I was not getting 5 feet. In fact, if I were to jump in this game as X, my jumps would probably look a lot more like this. At best. Now that being said, I'm pretty certain due to, you know, the distance and we can see some rebar sticking out of it, I could probably, like, you know, lean forward, grab them, pull myself up. So I'm gonna say, yes, I could probably get past this point. Again, that distance is, it doesn't even look like it's 5 feet wide. Maybe like 3 to 4, which means, yeah, I could, maybe not comfortably, but I could probably, you know, kind of lean forward, get a good hold, and pull myself up. So I'm going to go ahead and count that as doable. Anyway, moving onward, we have these enemies. These guys I could probably survive, just because they're not seemingly hell-bent on targeting people and individuals, they're more so just causing general destruction. And these giant pits that they make, yeah, I'm pretty certain I could get over or around them. Again, this is like maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 feet wide at most. I could easily jump over that. So yeah, these enemies, I'm gonna say, yeah, I could survive. At least in this context. I suppose if they were hunting me, I would need to sleep eventually, and that's when they would get me. Anyway, we have a drop of maybe like a foot or two. That would be an easy hop. We have a lot more of these, and then again, another one of these guys who would destroy me. Now here, this is a bit bigger of a jump. I'm gonna say maybe 5, 6 feet if I had to guess. I'll do some more fine math later, and if I'm wrong in saying this, then I guess future me will interject. But the thing is, long jumps, like, I am pretty certain I could, with ease, do, you know, a long jump up to around, I want to say 7 to 8 feet. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the landing is going to be pretty, but the thing is, I could launch myself over this. Anyway, up ahead, I'm not surviving this guy. He's lobbing missiles and literally has a machine gun. It's not happening. Now the thing is, when we take him down, everything crumbles. I am not getting out of this because in real life, I cannot wall climb. Not to mention that fall, I am probably looking at like permanent bodily damage. Now the thing is, you know, there are these areas down here, and I could probably jump from base to base if they all are consistently like this. Now, if I could do that after the injuries of, you know, that fall and everything, is an entirely different story. But the thing is, realistically, this would probably be the farthest I could ever hope to make it. At least if we are taking the enemies into consideration. If he was not there to crumble that entire thing, then yeah, no, I think I could probably keep going. Now, these enemies, I don't know what exactly is up with these guys. They're not exactly the smartest, so yeah, I'm gonna say I could probably outrun these guys. I mean, I guess they could roll up into a ball and probably move a lot faster the way they do when they're, dropped in from these guys. But I'm not sure if that's like a mode of mobility or just a mode of transport, so I'm gonna say that, yeah, I could probably survive them. But again, we have another of these falls. If I somehow survived the first one and got to this one, this one is most likely, yeah, I'm gonna say it will put me down. Like, I would probably already be permanently maimed for life if I somehow made it past the previous one. This one, that's just gonna be the nail in the coffin. But again, if that enemy was not there, then yeah, we could probably easily keep going. Now this is a rough one, because we essentially have to jump far and probably a little upwards. I'm not 100% sure if I can make this jump. If I had to eyeball that, it looks like it's probably at minimum 2 of X's height in length, which means it's about a 10.5 foot jump. And again, it is angled up, which means we do kind of need to go a little higher, which personally I don't think that's too much of a problem. But the thing is, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what my jump length is. I want to say somewhere around like 12 feet, maybe? I really have nothing to go off of for this, so future me, have fun with that. Anyway, in the off chance that I'm surviving that, I'm definitely not surviving that. This is actually where I think would be the limits if we did not have to worry about enemies, because the thing is, these start crumbling, which means that jump, that's probably 4 of X's height in length, and I do not think I have a 20-foot long jump. Actually, just for the sake of argument, mainly because while recording this part, I do not know what my long jump is, so I'm just going to look up what the average long jump is. 6.5 meters? Okay, no, that's only about 22 feet, which means... Wait, 22 feet really for average? I have not measured a long jump in many years, so if that's average, I mean, I suppose there's a chance I could maybe make this. I mean, big maybe. And again, if I took advantage of the falling platform, assuming I could actually push off of it with enough to not just accelerate its fall and then we both fall to our deaths, I suppose that is kind of maybe doable. Oh, well, if I couldn't make the previous one, there is no way in hell I'm making that one. But I'm going to say no. This right here is without question the absolute farthest that I could possibly hope to survive this stage. Also, I just realized I forgot to keep in mind these enemies. I mean, I guess they just kind of drop little explosives. So, like, I could probably outrun them, but realistically, they're probably going to be more like a drone. And, well, modern drones in warfare are terrifying. I would hate to think what a super advanced version of that would be like. Alright, so we got these guys. They're basically just little spiky boys, which means if I could dodge, like, the initial approach, I think I'd be fine. But the thing is, like, a giant chunk of robot with a spike on it, if that were to just bounce into your head, you're not making it. Anyway, these guys, not surviving. First of all, they have guns. Second of all, I am not outrunning a car, let alone a car with a gun mounted on it. Like, it's just not happening. Now, for the obvious. Vile. This is what would happen. He would dash forward through me, and I would be turned into a red mist. Unfortunately, knowing his violent and sadistic nature, he'd probably do just enough damage to prevent you from immediately dying, and then start torturing you. So, would I survive? Maybe, but it would only be because Vile finds my continued pained existence and general suffering to be amusing. So, I mean, yeah, I could survive a fight with Vile. I would probably be horribly maimed, and probably more of a potato than actually, quote unquote, surviving. On top of all of the horrible and miserable torture that Vile would continue to put me through, as he probably single-handedly keeps me alive solely for that purpose. So it is horrible to say, but yes, an average human could potentially survive Vile, but only as a technicality. You're not winning. Not by any means. Now, I suppose it's probably worth considering, what about X and 0? Well, 0, no. Also X, no. Okay, so now we have the main 8 boss stages. Now, I just want to make 2 levels abundantly clear. Spark Mandrill. For anyone who may not know, this is a power plant, and right here you are dead. And to explain why, let's walk forward just a little bit. Again, we're gonna deal with this enemy and overlook him. But the thing is, you see that? That is electricity. The moment you touch down in this stage, you are essentially going to be a conduit for the entirety of a power plant. In other words, the moment that you touch down, you would have essentially the output of a malfunctioning power plant coursing through your body. In other words, if you did not explode, you would almost immediately be charred and die. If you're lucky, you'll die before you are charred. Anyway, even if you somehow did survive all of that, maybe you, I don't know, were wearing something that shielded you from it, you're not surviving more of these robots. And then if you did somehow get through all that, you have rolling blackouts with these pretty big jumps that you would simply never see in pitch blackness. These little ostrich enemies, I feel like, since we never see them move, I'm just going to say, yeah, you could probably outrun and outmaneuver them. They seem big and awkward. Those enemies, again, maybe you would see a flash of light in the darkness, but it would probably be the last thing that you ever see. Which brings us to mini-boss time. This guy? Yeah, you're gonna get stuck, and then you're gonna get lightning, and if you're lucky, you will die before he can bounce. Anyway, if the point wasn't clear already, no human is surviving this stage. There is another one that I kind of want to point out, but we are gonna come back to this one. Flame Mammoth. So first, we got this. Again, you could probably jump, reach up, grab yourself, and pull yourself up. But then you have the conveyor belts. Oh god. Which do also involve robots shooting lasers at you. Now the thing is, if you fail this jump, you are going down into the lava. But I don't think this jump would be completely undoable. This one, maybe. But the thing is, if you survive that, you then have to basically outrun a conveyor belt going the other way, which probably wouldn't be that bad. But considering that you also then have to make another jump on the other side, yeah, you're probably not surviving that. But realistically, you're probably going to plummet into the lava below, and guess what? Now, as for the enemies, these guys, I feel like I actually know. Again, it's drone technology all over again. The only difference is this one grabs you, flies you a little bit, and then explodes with you in it. I suppose you could potentially survive it, but you're probably not going to have the same life that you would have had prior to that moment. Anyway, needless to say, I would not survive this level. Even without doing any of the fine math, I already know that for a fact. But again, maybe we'll come back to this stage later. And actually, while we're looking at the unaltered stages, let's check out Sting Charmeleon. Because to be honest, I thought about this vaguely. I'm not sure about this level. Some of the levels, very obvious that we're not surviving. This one, I'm actually not sure. So, first of all, the enemies. I'm trying to find a place where I can single these guys out. So we got one of these little dudes, and they shoot little robot worms at you. Obviously, it's a little shocking, but I think I could probably survive one of these guys. And by survive, I mean I could probably get away from them and their little robot worms. Now these little jumpy guys, considering all they can really do is jump at you aggressively. Oh, actually I did not realize they could also plant little bombs. Yeah, that actually makes them significantly deadlier, but I am pretty certain I could probably outrun them. They are kind of slow, so I'm gonna say, yeah, that's probably very survivable. These little axe tree cutting dudes, yes, I could survive. They are completely stationary, and hell, like I could literally just crawl on the ground and they would never be able to reach me. Now that being said, the terrain of this level so far, like, you know, I'm gonna get a little messy climbing up this ledge right here. But aside from that, this actually wouldn't be that bad. But this is the first part that I'm not really sure, because if this is dirt, then yeah, that's as far as we go. If it's rock though, I could climb that. So again, this could be it, but I'm gonna count this as a maybe. Not that it really matters too much, because right here, well, I'm gonna say that's probably, what, a 10-foot drop, which I'm pretty certain I could easily make. I've jumped from farther and been fine. At the same time, I've also jumped from lesser and hurt myself, so, you know, it's a bit of a toss-up. It could really go either way, but I think I'd be fine. This, however, is where, realistically, this is where it all ends. I'm not surviving a, actually the thing is, I suppose there is a chance I could survive a cave-in, but keep in mind, like, there is a big robot up top that is basically intentionally, like, shaking this place down on you. So it's not gonna be like a shake and then it ends. It's gonna be literally everything is shaking until you die. And again, against those rock-throwing robot dudes, which, keep in mind, I say rock, it's much closer to boulder than anything. And considering the ease that they lob that, like, head-sized chunk of earth at you, if it hits you, you're probably, I mean, you'd probably be able to get back up, but you probably wouldn't want to get back up. So I'm gonna say, realistically, this cave would be the place that I fail. And again, that's also not considering the jumps that you would have to be making while dodging the enemy projectiles, as well as the collapsing roof. And I suppose you could argue that you could go up and try to fight that boss, but there's no way in hell that I'm winning that. I am a regular human. That would be best case scenario, like trying to fight a knight in armor with nothing but your fists. It is simply not going to happen. Now these birds and worms, well, these are just birds and worms. They're not actually like... I'm pretty certain I could survive them. They're mostly doing their own thing. I would essentially survive just by avoiding them. This knight, well, remember everything I said about trying to fight a knight in armor with nothing but your fists? Well, you know how it goes. Not to mention this entire terrain specifically, I'm not... I don't think there's any way in hell I'm getting over this. And again, that is if everything else somehow did not end me. Now again, we do have another fall here. That could really go either way. But then we have this. Now with this, I would finally be getting some way of actually being able to fight back. Now the thing is, I personally have no idea how the controls of this thing would be, so I'd be learning on the spot. And against other pilots, I am gonna say, unless the controls are stupidly intuitive, or I can unlock some sort of, you know, autistic intuition, it's probably not gonna happen. Maybe against the smaller guys that kind of don't really pose much of a threat. But the rest of this is not gonna happen. Now this is basically quicksand. I know there's ways and strategies to survive quicksand. However, it's not something that I'm trained to do or am knowledgeable about, so yeah, that's not gonna happen. And now comes for the boss himself, Sting Charmeleon. And again, as if this wasn't clear, no, there's no way in hell. This guy literally turns invisible and shoots lasers from his tail. It's not happening. Alright, let's take a look at Chill Penguin's stage. Now, I'm pretty certain I know the absolute limits for this already. Now, we do have a new type of enemy, basically the little bunnies. Now, the thing is, like, you know, they're pretty simple, but they do have laser cannons in their ears, so yeah, the moment that thing starts shooting, it's all over for me. But again, this terrain, not too bad. This might be a little rough, just, you know, trying to actually get up the side of that. But I don't think it would be anything undoable. I've never really been a stranger to snow and stuff, so yeah. This, however, where everything suddenly ices over in this cave, realistically, I'd probably hit this, slide down, and then just kind of keep tumbling until I hopefully get up from here. But the thing is, I'm not getting out of this cave, and I already know that for a fact. Oh yeah, we do also have these bats. I mean, they kind of just keep following you. Again, it'd be the whole drone thing all over again, just in different form. But this is it. I live out the rest of my days in this cave. Or, you know, at least until the robots get to me. Oh, right, these guys. Again, that's just a bug-shaped drone. Now, here's the thing. If I go down that way, I'm not surviving. I mean, maybe if I had the mech unit, I could, you know, get over it the same way that X does. But realistically, I would probably be much better off going up this way. The problem, though, is the other side of it is, how do we put this? Way in the hell up there. Yeah, I'm pretty certain that fall alone would kill me. Or at least cripple me to the point that I am not getting back up. So yeah, these guys just throw snowballs. I'm pretty certain I could survive one of these guys. Now, to be fair, they do throw snowballs hard enough that it hurts a robot. So that keeping in mind, actually maybe I wouldn't survive them. I was actually thinking these guys would actually be a lot of fun. But no, they might not actually be nearly as fun as I was thinking. Anyway, Chill Penguin, so here's the thing. Ice projectiles, realistically, I'm probably not dodging those. He can kind of make these little storms and crush you with ice, so that's probably also not happening. A real person is not going to be outrunning him when he does his belly slide because, again, unlike in this game, a real person would not be able to simply climb up the wall. So, of all the bosses in this game, this guy might be the most survivable, but not by much. But it still would not be looking very good. I mean, maybe your best hope would try to be to, like, shoot one of the tanks on his back before he ever noticed you. But again, I'm going to this assuming that I am not armed and am more or less defenseless. But now that we have Chill Penguin down, let's take another look at Flame Mammoth's stage. Because some things do change. And suddenly this level becomes significantly more survivable, although I am still pretty certain we would not get much farther. So without the lava, you know, obviously we can get a little farther. We might have some problems getting back up in a lot of places. But the thing is, realistically, like, these guys are going to fall to the ground. They're not just going to explode. So I'm going to say that, like, yeah, I could probably pile up enough junk to, you know, get out of this place. So yeah, like, this level suddenly becomes significantly more survivable until we get to here. This is where we really gotta remember video game logic, because if we fall, that is... I mean, it took 7 jumps to get up. Each one of his jump is like his height plus a head. I feel like I did the math wrong. Future me, double check that. But you're also not landing this and continuing to move very far. So yeah, this is as far as I would get. Now we do have another enemy right here. These guys, I don't think I would fare very well against, but the thing is, I suppose they're also not like the most accurate. I mean, honestly, I would not want to get hit with a flying pickaxe, but yeah, you know, they don't really chase after you. They kind of just see you and start trying to swat at you like you're a bug. So, you know, if you do the smart thing and just get the hell out of there, I'm gonna say, yeah, I could probably survive these guys. Because again, I'm not looking at these enemies and wondering, would I win? No, I'm just trying to figure out if I could survive. And again, as if it wasn't clear enough already, there's no way in hell I'm getting up this. I mean, maybe like if I could find some maintenance equipment, but I feel like that's enough into speculation that it's just not gonna happen. That'd be like saying like, oh, of course I could get up this giant cliff if I had a ladder or a jetpack or, you know, whatever. And I feel like that's kind of, I feel like missing the point of things. So yeah, needless to say, that's as far as I'm getting in this level. Not to mention, I'd have to survive another fall. And then these spiky things, as well as leaking magma. Which, to be fair, you know, I could probably time the drips and get through it. In the same way that, you know, I could just get lucky and not get shot. But then before the boss, we got another one of these, and this is one of those things where you'd literally just have to, like... Actually, no, maybe... I was gonna say, you just have to launch yourself over the area, but now that I look at that, that might not actually... I mean, you would probably hurt yourself, or there'd be a pretty good chance of it, but it'd probably be manageable. I mean, like, I'd rather not do it in the first place, but, you know, it wouldn't be like the worst thing ever. And then, obviously, we have Flame Mammoth. Is not happening. Again, if we're just going by, like, painfully realistic everything, considering every jump this dude makes is gonna knock you over, you're just gonna get ground up in the gears of the conveyor belt. You know, assuming you don't get sludged and then burned alive, that is. Or even just straight up, like, squished. Again, this is one of those bosses that in-game can easily, like, hit stun you. And that's when you're playing as a super fighting robot, Mega Man. Not just, mundane mortal human. Next up, let's take a look at Storm Eagle. Now again, not surprising here. This is another stage that I already know there is no way in hell. I mean, maybe for some of it if you got, like, incredibly lucky. But, no, it's not happening. So here's the thing, you could probably time yourself to land on one of these, but you're not gonna jump 10 feet onto from one moving platform to another, catch yourself, pull yourself up, all while dodging, you know, all these enemies trying to grab you. It's not gonna happen. No matter how optimistic you're trying to be. And then even if you did make it up top, actually, okay, maybe that jump wouldn't be all that bad. Actually, you know what? I just realized I didn't even, like, weigh in this enemy. This enemy, I feel like, yeah, you could survive. Oh. Oh, I thought I just broke him for a moment. Yeah, like, you could probably survive by just simply, timing his shots. Now, of course, that assumes that you actually had the opportunity to, study his firing pattern. But this is another case where you could probably just lay on the ground and crawl around him, and you probably wouldn't have anything to worry about. This is the absolute limit. Like, again, you'd be having to throw yourself like 20 feet from moving platform to moving platform, not rolling off the other side. And again, you're probably making these with at most a step or a two of build-up. You don't have like a big running start, and actually some of these are even farther away from each other, all while avoiding these little fire robots. I'm assuming they're for like, airship maintenance, so like, they weld. But again, if you're unarmed, your best hope is to avoid these guys, and in context of the level, you quite literally need to deal with them. Or, destroy them, that way you can use their platforms to get around them. And again, this, you're probably not getting up all of this. Although I would say, like this one, yeah, you could probably climb this one. That one looks very climbable. Oh, right, new enemy. So yeah, these guys, here's the thing. Even for X, they are like nearly indestructible only when they like actually peek out at you. And when they do, they shoot a little like laser bolt at you. As a human, you're not dodging that. You might be able to survive it, but like you're not really going to be able to fight those enemies. It'd essentially be like fighting a fire hydrant with a laser gun. Or, a fire hydrant that has a laser gun and can constantly walk at you. So, yeah, that's not happening. Now, the airship, let's be honest, is an airship. Storm Eagle, however, this is how this would go. He would simply blow you off the stage. Or he uses arm cannon tornado and kills you even faster. But realistically, no, he would not directly kill you, but you would not survive him. Not to mention he can basically just spew a bunch of little, like, robot birds at you. So again, even if maybe you took out, like, his cannon and his wings, he can still overwhelm you with drones. However, let's take another look at Spark Mandrill's stage. I already know we're not finishing this, or, surviving the stage itself, which, surprise, surprise, is gonna be a bit of a reoccurring thing. But the thing is, with the airship down, this stage does change. It no longer has the, massive pulses of electricity coursing throughout the floor. You just have basically massive rolling blackouts, as well as very, very dimmed light. But again, everything that I said before, this is still as far as you're making it. Because in pitch black, with, occasional moments of lighting, you're not making these jumps. I mean, hell, even if you saw these, you're still not making a lot of these jumps. So yeah, even though this stage doesn't instantly kill you anymore, it's still not looking good. But anyway, as far as enemies go, we still have a few more to go. So these guys are essentially just like a single-wheeled motorcycle with giant spikes, and it looks like they have a rocket booster in the back, which means I'm just gonna say no. You are, I mean, I guess you could try to outmaneuver them, but the thing is, with a single wheel, they're gonna be able to spin very, very easily on the fly, or they're gonna have a very, very tight turn radius. So I'm just gonna say no. They will simply outmaneuver and outspeed you. It's not going to be pretty. Now, these turtle guys, I suppose you could try and distance yourself from them while they, basically continuously pelt you with mortars. And the thing is, simply due to the nature of artillery, I suppose there's a chance you could just never get hit by it. But at the same time, artillery is surprisingly precise. As long as you kept moving and weren't moving, super predictably, assuming they couldn't simply surround and saturate and then slowly dial in on your position, I'm going to say yes, I could, emphasis on could, because it's going to be a very situational thing, I'm going to say I could survive them. It is definitely within the realm of possibility, even though it is going to be mostly luck. And now for Spark Mandrill himself. So this answer is probably not going to surprise anyone, but no. The moment that one of those hits you, you would probably be burnt to a crisp. Your nerves would be fried, your muscles would be probably ripped from the tendons as your body convulses uncontrollably. It's not going to be pretty. And again, if he did actually, I was actually hoping he'd do the punch. But if he lands on you, it's all over. Wow, he didn't just spam the punch the way that he usually does. Yeah, the other thing is you literally have a 10 to 12 foot robot who can quite literally launch his entire body at you, fist first. I mean, he can easily clear the entirety of the width of his stage with a single leap. You're not surviving that. All right, next up, Armored Armadillo. Now, this is one that, I already know the answer is no. The question is more so, how far? Because first we got this. Now the thing is, you could just walk all of this. Because realistically, the moment you get to here, you're going with the cart. Now, as far as all of these jumps go, you could... I'm pretty certain this one would be doable. This one, yeah, you'd kind of, have to wedge yourself up. I don't think any of this would be in the realm of impossibility. Obviously, there's always the chance of screwing it up and falling to your death. But I think it's doable. Again, some of this you'd have to climb, but I don't think most of those would be that bad. This, however, first of all, surviving this fall, let alone then outrunning that thing, which fortunately they do seem to be very one-track minded, so I don't think they would really be all that bad. Again, you just have to hope that you do not get cornered, or, well, you're basically going back to the state of being fine-paced. But again, some of these areas, obviously you got a big spike pit, which again kind of depends on the vertical jump. Again, I'm just gonna say eyeballing that, yeah, I would say if I had a good jump, I could maybe make that. Now all of this, no, we're probably tumbling down all of this in the dark and not getting back up. Let's just be honest there. Of course, with, all of these mine carts and stuff, this one, it would probably be incredibly uncomfortable. But as long as you bailed, like, yeah, you definitely have the momentum. There's no way in hell you'd come out of it, like, unharmed as you basically skid across the ground for a little bit. Actually, now that I think about it, depending on the speed, you could just tumble straight down this, which again, in this case, guaranteed death. Again, this whole area is a giant mine. And mines are not exactly known to be hospitable places. I mean, you know, working in mines and stuff is like one of the most dangerous professions or jobs or whatever that people can do. And again, as if it wasn't obvious, that giant jump, leap, whatever, even if you did bail out at the end, that way you didn't plummet down to your depth with the rail, whatever thing. At those speeds, I don't think you're gonna survive bailing out. Anyway, Armored Armadillo. So, he's fast, he rolls, and he's covered in armor that makes him basically unkillable. Like this, you're not dodging that. And if you somehow do, he has forehead laser. So yeah, even without his armor, like, you're not outrunning this guy. And at the same time, you're also not dodging lasers. So yeah, you'd be dead like almost immediately if this guy decided to make it quick. Okay, so launch octopus. There's a bit of an elephant in the room to acknowledge with this one, and that is the entire stage is underwater. So first of all, actually I wonder how long I can hold my breath. Let me just pull up a timer real quick. I know there are people who can like hold their breath for minutes at a time. However, I also know that I am not one of them. So okay, 47 seconds. Now, to be fair, that was not a very big breath, and at the same time, I'm also not running around and trying to dodge a lot of crazy stuff. So, yeah, as long as we can return to the surface again, I'm going to be very, very generous here. As long as we can return to the surface every 47 seconds, then there's a chance. However, at the same time, keep in mind, this is water. In this game, we cannot swim. But I suppose you could argue that, like, yeah, you could just swim to the final boss. Assuming none of the ocean serpents or other monsters, you know, got to you first. Now, these seahorses, I think they turn into a spinning disc and basically be like a saw blade tearing through you. This submarine, yeah, you're getting sucked into that. What are they called? Delta forces? Or oh god, I can't remember what they're called. It's one of those things that's absolutely horrifying, but like underwater currents and stuff, like the moment you get sucked into that, it's all over. I mean, even like creatures who are designed to work underwater, like crabs and fish get liquefied all the same. It's not happening. Now, these big fish, the thing is, like, they'll eat you and then slowly drain you. Which, you know, not optimal. Alright, future me here. So the thing is, I initially thought this was a torpedo boat. It is not. I don't know what it is, but those are not torpedoes that it's shooting, they are depth charges. Basically, they float down a little bit, maybe loiter a little bit, and then when they reach a certain depth, they, well, explode. Now, the thing is, explosives, especially in water, have concussive blasts. Basically, an area that will mess you up. And because this is a game, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's within the area that you would take damage. And realistically, if I was in this stage, I would be swimming along the surface. I have nothing to worry about here unless this thing runs me over. So while initially I said something along the lines of, this is a torpedo boat, yeah, this is literally an instrument of war, I'm not surviving that. I'm actually going to say that I probably have absolutely nothing to worry about. And emphasis on probably, because I have been run over by a boat before. It is not fun. Something this size would potentially cause problems. Anyway,
Change places!
because god damn is that chart getting crowded very quickly. I had no idea how much space to actually allocate for each thing because I did not plan ahead whatsoever, and I should have given so much more space to the no category. Anyway, we have a giant underwater serpent. That will be the end of me. Actually, if anything, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, because the surface is right there, if we were swimming, on the surface of this, and we got to this point, he would probably just come up, bite you, and drag you under. And that would be it. Although, I guess to be fair, on the other stages, I've been judging the stages themselves, not, based off of the enemies. Or I should say, I've been taking the stages alone into consideration, as well as the enemies. So actually, now I think about it, if the goal is only to get to the end of the stage, then yeah, actually, this would be doable if there were no enemies. You literally just swim down to this little cave and... Actually, hang on. Yeah, okay, that only takes like 15 seconds, I'd say, to, get through that whole thing. So yeah, this is the end of the stage, which means, yeah, this level would actually be doable. Surprisingly enough. Although, Launch Octopus, on the other end, he literally has homing missiles, as well as the ability to generate, whirlpools. And again, attempting to fight him underwater, you're gonna have to be dodging all that on a single breath. And finally, we have this guy. Now, here's the thing about this stage. This one is probably relatively easily accessible. Again, there's ladders everywhere, even though you would have to jump to, get onto them. I feel like a lot of this would be doable. This jump could be kind of rough, but I think you could make that. I'm pretty certain you would not be able to jump up onto this ladder, and that would probably be the end of it. Now, I'm not sure whether to count those blue laser shooting enemies as part of the stage or not, but again, you will not be able to dodge a laser shot, but at the same time, you could also just kinda not trip the lasers, so again, you could survive it. And to be fair, I don't know what kind of energy a single laser blast would have. I mean, it could be anything from just like a simple, burn to basically, instantly boiling any water content and thus causing a steam explosion. And considering humans are supposed to be at least 70% water, it's gonna be not good. Anyway, the Elevator of Doom, realistically, you would be able to actually, look up that and simply see them coming. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I think that'd be fine. A lot of this area, I'm gonna say no. Because, like, you got places like this where you would have to make some kind of absurd jumps. The guys on the ladders, though, like, I think you'd be fine. They never really seem to come off of the ladders, and we never really see anything else they can do. So I'm gonna say, yeah, you could survive those. Oh, as for the guns in the walls, I mean, if you saw them coming, then I suppose you could have simply avoid them. Oh, right, these little wall laser dudes. Again, you're not dodging a laser. End of story. And those things will kind of seek out to aim at you. So it's really more of a question of when they hit you rather than if. Wow, I actually did a lot better against them than I was expecting to. Considering I was going just the Buster and, was one hit from death from the start. Yeah, anyway, this is another one of those bosses that you would simply not have a chance. He can teleport as well as throw his devil horns that kind of, grab you. And of all of the bosses, without question, this guy is the most unhinged. I mean, even before the whole Maverick thing, he did not like humans. I think it's actually debatable whether or not he was actually infected with the virus or if he just wanted to kill humans. So yeah, no, he would gladly end you, and it would not be pretty. Anyway, Sting Charmeleon stage, it does change a little bit. I actually think the water, like weighing your clothes down and stuff, would be enough to actually thoroughly exhaust you rather quickly, which would actually make this entire beginning part significantly harder. Now, fortunately, if you fell here, you would have a little bit of water. Unfortunately, the chances of you actually climbing out of that would be very slim, meaning you would probably actually just die there. Because again, in the game, we can kick climb. Or wall climb, wall jump, whatever it's called. Realistically, that's not happening. And again, I talked about this guy before. There's no way in hell. Man, I forgot just how much you can actually bully this boss. With the boomerangs. But now we have the Sigma levels. Now, of course, there's no way in hell I would survive long enough to actually see these levels. But to be fair, I also would not have survived past the highway stage to see any of these levels. So, again, let's just see how things go. And to be fair, this first stage, this is going to be a really, really easy one. Because again, at first, all this might not seem too bad. Some of the traversal might be a little rough, but you could get through it. Until you get to this, where you have to jump from platform to platform while dodging robots. Yeah, needless to say, this part is not happening. Oh god, it's hard enough in-game. It's, okay. It's one of those places that, like, you are, oh, well, there we go.